There's been something of a flurry of developments this weekend in the story about historic sexual abuse allegations involving politicians. At the Home Office, Mark Sedwill, the Permanent Secretary, has admitted that more than 100 potentially relevant files may have gone missing. The Chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee, Keith Vaz, called it a loss of files on an industrial scale. And Mr Vaz's committee has been the focus of attention because of a separate but related development. It had been expected that Labour's Simon Danczuk, the MP who campaigned over abuse allegations against the late Cyril Smith, would use his appearance there on Tuesday to name names under the protection of parliamentary privilege. In fact, he didn't, and he's been telling our reporter Becky Milligan why. His researcher Matt Baker was with him when they talked.
On the Monday before the Select Committee, I was on my way down on the train and the chairman rang me. We had a brief conversation. I said, why don't we chat, when I get down there? So we agreed to meet on the terrace in Parliament at 1:45. We had a conversation about how the session might go. He said that some of the committee, I think he said that some of the committee, when it had met the week before, were a little concerned that nervous that the forum might be used as an opportunity to name alleged abusers. So he was making me aware of that.
So politicians
so
have been
he'd
in touch
received,
with the chairman.
That's right.
To say
we are concerned. Just that they were concerned that I might use privilege to name a Labour person. In politics, we have an unhealthy view of child sex abuse to the point where some politicians would rather sweep it under the carpet and getting it out there and confronting it.
At this stage, were you still in two minds about whether, if the question was asked, to actually say the names of these people?
We decided on our approach before this, but we were keeping it quiet as to how and what we were going to say.
Is that right?
We kept that quiet.
That's right.
Why was that?
Well, the thinking was that there had to be a very high threshold of evidence. Parliamentary privilege, is a very good thing and shouldn't be abused. We applied a very high threshold of evidence to write the book on Cyril Smith. That threshold of evidence hadn't been passed where other parliamentarians are concerned. We'd obviously received reports and intelligence had been passed our way, but it was inconclusive. It couldn't be fully verified. So with that in mind, it's just too big a risk to say for certainty that you believe someone is a child abuser.
And yet you kept it quiet. You didn't want that to be widely known that you'd made a decision.
Well, the decision was probably made at quite sort of 11th hour because we were still talking to people, we were still talking to police officers, and some people who previously indicated some certainty about this were now kind of not so certain. So, you had to weigh it all up, and the final analysis was that we couldn't be 100% certain. In terms of the lead up to the Select Committee, Simon refers to having a meeting with the chairman at 1:45, but on that Monday morning I spoke to the clerk who had been in touch with me previously to ask for biographical details and just to confirm that I was attending the Select Committee, but when I spoke to him on the Monday morning he said that there'd been a change of plan and that I was no longer required, and that was due to a meeting that MPs had. He couldn't tell me the reason why, but I got the impression that the committee had been shortened and a different approach had been taken to it.
It's not really true that we weren't going to name somebody, because we weren't going to name one of the parliamentarians, because we were prepared to name another parliamentarian if we were asked. Or if the opportunity arose, because in that instance we were happy with the threshold of evidence that we'd received, and if we were asked in any way around that area, that geographical area or that person, then we would have named him.
Did you ask any of the committee members whether they'd had any pressure applied to them either to not ask the question?
No, I've been told that as it gets closer to the committee, to the point where I'm sat outside the committee waiting to go in, one committee member said to me, I've been told not to, we've agreed not to ask any questions that might identify parliamentarians, something to that effect. And another said to me, listen, there's been some agreement that we shouldn't ask you questions that enable you to use privilege, but I take the view that you should say whatever you're comfortable saying, Simon. So I think what had happened is that the week before there'd been some unease at the committee about how the meeting might play out, how the questioning might play out, and they'd agreed to avoid any controversy, really, I suppose.
The other point of view is that these are allegations, and until these allegations are proved in a court of law, they're innocent.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it could be the most appalling thing to accuse someone who is innocent of such a crime.
Yeah, absolutely right. Though MPs have parliamentary privilege for a reason, and you should always use it responsibly. Though I do see it as a duty as a Member of Parliament to help and assist the police. And I have to say, some of our biggest cheerleaders, some of the people that have rung up subsequently, are serving police officers involved in these types of investigations, phoning up the office to say well done and keep going. We get a lot of plaudits from
That's
police
exactly
officers.
right. The next day we had a very senior police officer currently working on investigation involving child abusers who said well done, I watched the committee and Simon did the right thing.
And he's a current police officer, serving police officer.
Very senior, yeah.
Investigating these types of issues. You've got to remember as well that some police officers who are investigating these current kinds of crimes have come to us and said, if we prosecute this case, do you think there will be political interference? Some police officers are worried of political interference because of who they are investigating. So I think that warrants us providing some assistance and cover to enable the police to be able to do their job effectively. The whole episode from Tuesday to where we are now really has raised more questions than it's provided answers, which I think is a good thing. But it is like we're pulling little bits of information out of the Home Office or out of the former Home Secretary or from here or from there. It's like pulling teeth, as they say, isn't it? Although it's alleged that the dossier has been destroyed, it now raises questions about who destroyed it, on whose instruction. I mean, the public will think, and you can't blame them for thinking it, that this dossier has been destroyed to protect the names of the people that are mentioned in it.
In some ways, do you feel that both of you, from the calls you're getting, that you've kind of opened up something which
It's called a can of worms. That's what it's called. That's what we've opened up. I mean, that's the reality,
it's
isn't it?
It's not slowing down, is it?
No, I think it's picking up pace, actually. I think it's coming to a head in some ways.
Yeah, there's a sense now that the genie can't be put back in the bottle. It's out there. You know, one of the politicians Simon spoke to had said this was put to bed years ago. Well, I'm afraid it's not being put to bed. It has to be tackled.
Simon Danczuk and Matt Baker. And when Simon Danczuk said he met the chairman of the committee at the beginning of that interview, he was referring to the Labour MP Keith Vaz. We asked Mr Vaz to come on the programme, but he declined. He did, however, tell us that he sees Simon Danczuk regularly and stated that all witnesses who give evidence to the Select Committee are free to say what they want, although he added that they shouldn't jeopardise police investigations.